After 16 years, there's just no one who can touch me.
Oh, and she nails the Fisherman Buster on Mae Young.
Shayna and Savoy were part of a crew around the world. If they're stepping my way to get to my dream, they know that I will hurt them. Business is business. You put friendship aside for something so prestigious. If they're in my way, I would take them down. I would take anybody down. You're in my way of my dream, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to get to the top.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
WWE Bracketology has just gone off, and as I sit here, it's time to go through the previews of the Mae Young Classic. This is Mr. Green. You are listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. We're almost there, somewhat, with about 7 days or so. I say that because it's past midnight where I am. So about a good week before the Mae Young Classic officially kicks off. Now, of course, these matches have been taped, and they are in the can. Well, up until the semifinals, those are in the can. So we have a couple of these matches that are already out of the way. There are spoilers that exist online. I've done everything in my power to avoid the spoilers, particularly on YouTube, because anytime I log on is kind of a suggested video or clip for me. So I've been having to remove them and just get away from it and try to get around it, because I want to watch it and enjoy it and be surprised, like a lot of you guys out there, like a lot of the viewers that are going to be watching the Mae Young Classic along with me. I mean, you don't want to walk into the thing knowing that somebody already won. I like being able to take the guess. I like being able to be surprised. I like being able to watch it for the first time and not having some preconceived notion or spoilers sitting over top of me as I get ready to look at it. But anyway, now's as good a time as any to address some of the things that I've been thinking about with the Classic on the horizon and the WWE's landscape as far as women wrestlers are concerned overall. There's another podcast that I am set to do as it relates to, I guess, the forgotten knockouts. Yeah, I've talked about that. I believe in the first time I even mentioned the Mae Young Classic. Like, I knew that once the Mae Young Classic hit, or went at the time, we just knew it as the women's tournament. But I was pretty positive by the time this thing hits, anything that TNA or now Global Force Wrestling did as related to the women is just going to get blown out of the water. And they haven't even shown video number 1 as far as a match is concerned yet, and they've already done it. They've already done it with Bracketology. They've already done it with the Parade of Champions or the Parade of Participants and all that stuff. They have already shown that they have every motive to make this thing work, look as good as it can, be as smooth as it can, introduce you to all the people, even if you didn't know them, if you weren't following them on the independent scene. So far, so good, man. They've done a great job, and it's somewhat unfortunate that the GFW, I guess they are now, the GFW knockouts haven't really gotten that same type of treatment, but that's another topic for another day. So anyway, let's rewind this back a tad and address the victory of which I was a little bit surprised. I guess I shouldn't have been. But Asuka walks into NXT TakeOver, and let me just say this now. This is a spoiler if you haven't gotten to watch NXT TakeOver Brooklyn just yet. This is the third one that they've done, so NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And if you haven't looked at that and you do not want to know who won or lost, and you've been trying to avoid spoilers much like I have for the Classic, then you probably want to push ahead maybe by a minute or so in this podcast. You have been warned. I would imagine most of you already seen it, though. So Asuka walked into Brooklyn as the champion, and she leaves the champion with a pretty good match against Ember Moon. And admittedly, I am surprised. I was surprised that she was able to survive it. And maybe survive isn't a big word. I mean, they had a great match. I really enjoyed it. But I was surprised that she walked out as the women's champion. I pretty much thought with the setup that they had going for so long that Ember Moon was going to take her down. You know, that she was going to be the one to break the streak and win the championship, be the first person to defeat Asuka, and it was all going to be riding on her ability to land the Eclipse, which she did. She did hit the Eclipse, but surprise, surprise, Asuka kicked out of it. So not only did she survive the Eclipse, she kicked out. She didn't roll out of the ring or take the hit and get a foot on the ropes or nothing like that. She kicked out, and that says a lot for the persona and the character of Asuka. I mean, she's already been portrayed as the toughest walking, talking chick that's in the WWE as it is, and that only goes to kind of solidify that. So even though Ember Moon, to her credit, got a standing ovation when she left, and I think that's high praise for her and the match in and of itself. But she did not win. So the next guest that I would have following that would be, is the NXT Women's Championship going to be the ultimate goal here? Will that be something that these ladies get the opportunity to wrestle for once this particular person wins the trophy? So that's an interesting little point there. I'm a little bit surprised they haven't gone into saying it officially, but let's be honest. I sincerely doubt that they're going to have the Mae Young Classic winner go up to the main roster and say, okay, let's challenge Alexa Bliss, or let's challenge Natalya for the titles. So I think Asuka is the likely choice to be challenged or be the goal at the end of the rainbow, if you will. Not saying that that's going to happen, but we just want to kind of put that out there. So time will tell. Time will tell if that is the way that is going to go. I just wanted to bring that up since Asuka has remained, and the big story with her has been no one's ready for Asuka. She's been going on about that for weeks now, and she has cut through that competition like a hot knife through butter. I mean, there's literally nobody left on the NXT roster that could legitimately challenge her that most people would believe in, because she's chopped them all down. And to say nothing of the fact that, they brought in Mickie James for that, that one-off and at that TakeOver show that they had, which was cool, and it was a good idea that they had Mickie James come in. Let's bring in a legend and have her compete. And then she got cut down, so, that basically ended that. So the next logical choice, in my view, is to have somebody who doesn't exist within the company. So one of those girls that's looking for excuse me, that opportunity, looking for that chance that's going to go through this tournament. And let's keep in mind that it is 5 rounds. I mean, you got a lot. They got a lot of matches to go through in this thing. Now, granted, it's not all one night, but you got 5 rounds to go through. And I would suggest for anybody that hasn't watched Bracketology, you need to watch that so you can get introduced to at least some of them. I think they highlighted 5 or 6 girls. The first one out of the gate that they highlighted, which I was kind of really happy about, and if you've listened to me for any length of time, you already know who I'm talking about. Mercedes Martinez, the Latina sensation. She was first up. So, you know, my general thought there is that she is somebody that they have some praise for, and that she's probably going to get at least a relatively good showing in the tournament. And if we're going to do this thing comparatively speaking, I guess she would kind of be like the Brian Kendrick role, you know, in regards to, I've been doing this for 16 years. It's my time, and I'm gonna cut through anybody and do whatever I got to do in order to win. She did mention, even though they didn't call it by name, she did mention her trifecta teammates, those being Nicole Savoy and Shayna Baszler. But looking at the bracket, and again, I'm going to suggest that you go, I don't get nothing off of advertising for them. Certainly they don't need me. But I'm going to suggest that you go to www.com/Mae Young Classic and check out the bracket if you haven't seen it or if you haven't printed it out. Savoy and Baszler exist in an entirely different group than Mercedes does. So it's doubtful that Mercedes will wind up against one of them. In order for that to take place, they have to go to the semifinals. One of her trifecta members in the opposite group has to go, and that's in I shouldn't say group because there's 2 groups and several segments, I guess, if you want to call it that, because it's all bracketed. But Savoy and Baszler potentially could go up against each other because they exist within the same group. Mercedes is off in a different set. So in order for her to come up against either Savoy or Baszler, 2 of the 3 have to make it to the semifinals in order for them to be paired off against each other. Which if I were going to make the guess, I would be guessing for Mercedes against Baszler if the trifecta showdown is going to happen. That's my guess to how that's going to occur. I don't see Baszler getting knocked out in round 1. I think she's going to go over Zeta. Mae Young, I fully expect to go over Sarah Logan. I like Logan. I like her as Crazy Mary Dobson, but I think Mae Young, she's my pick to go over in that match. Baszler, I think if she goes into the second round, she takes Mae Young. And then you're looking at the second set of brackets, which is Savoy, Gonzalez, Michelle, and LeRae. LeRae, yes, I'm putting the money on Candice LeRae to walk into the second round. Savoy, I think, goes over on Gonzalez. My personal pick is LeRae. I think LeRae is going to go over on Savoy. That's my guess. Now, if Savoy does go over on LeRae, then you would have a Baszler Savoy matchup, which would pair the trifecta off. Now, I don't know how much of the trifecta history they're going to play upon. Again, it was mentioned in Bracketology when they interviewed Mercedes. She did say that she hung around with Savoy and Baszler, and if she comes across them, she's going to do what she has to do. They already know that she's in it to win it, and she's looking to take this thing to the finals. So it sounds like they have already set the table for a potential meeting of friends and teammates, or the alliance that they had with each other on the indies. I still like Baszler. I like Baszler, and whether that be LeRae or Savoy, I like Baszler walking into the semifinals. And I think Mercedes has got a tougher road to get into those finals than I think Baszler does. Lee is her first round, but I'm expecting Mercedes to go over on her. Sergey, I expect to go over on Kaylee Ray. Then Mercedes and Sergey. I'm looking for Mercedes, as you probably already know. The first set, Jazzy Gabert and Abby Leith, that's tough for me because I've seen Kimberly, Abby, as we now know her, wrestle live, and she is very, very good. In fact, I have one or two of her matches in our show archive, which I'm going to say that if you haven't seen her in this particular match, I think we have her in a mixed tag, I believe. So if you haven't seen it, you should go in there and check her out. She also took on Kiera Hogan. I'm not even sure if we ever put that match up. I have to go back and check. But that's kind of tough, and I think I'm going to go with Abby. I'm going to go with Abby over Jazzy Gabert. I like the alpha female, but I'm going to go with Abby with that. Marty Bell and Rachel Evers. Wow. Again, that's a tough one, man. I like Marty. I like Marty there, but I don't know if Marty's going to walk out of that first bracket. I'm picking Evers for that. I'm going to pick the Evers. We're going with second generational here. Should be a good match, because last time I saw her, Evers and Chelsea Green, but I can't. I'm drawing a blank on what her name is in TNA. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, she had a phenomenal match with her at the last knockdown. And I'm sure her name will pop in my head as I'm doing this. But she had a great match with her, even though she lost. It was a losing effort. She had a great match at that knockdown main event. And I expect her to deliver the goods here. I expect Evers to really show that she's got some extra oomph underneath her. And I don't think Bell will be hurt by the loss, although it's kind of hard. It's sad to kind of pick one or the over. But if I got to make the pick, I want Marty Bell to win, but I'm gonna say Evers. I'm gonna say Evers takes it. So in my universe, you got Abby versus Evers going into the second round. I would be picking Abby. And then I would say Mercedes over that, and then we go into the semifinals. So that's the left side of the brackets in my personal bracketology over who would win and who would lose there. Let's just go ahead and put this out right now. I like Tessa Blanchard, I really do, but Tessa Blanchard is not leaving the first round. She had the unfortunate pick of going up against Kairi Sane. And Kairi Sane, as much as I have said Mercedes is a number one draft pick and a top seed and all that stuff, the true top seed in this tournament is Sane. And she's going over on Blanchard. It should be a great match. But she's going over on Blanchard. I'm saying this without having seen any spoilers, without knowing who went up against who and all that stuff. But that's who I'm going to say. I'm going to say Sage Beckett, the former Andrea. I'm looking for her to walk over Bianca Belair and go into the second round. Because this is going to be the first real time that we've ever seen her. I mean, she got signed some time ago. But we haven't really seen her much. So I'm looking for Beckett to win. And some of you may also remember her as Rosie Lotta Love when she had an additional 150 pounds on top of her, and she was a bigger woman. She was a big sexy. But and some people, surprisingly, some people were actually like disappointed that she lost the weight. And that is absolute fact. I interviewed her some time ago, a couple of months back. Obviously before she got signed, but she was telling me that it's like, yeah, some guys were like disappointed that she dropped the weight. They liked her better when she was Rosie Lotta Love. So, but anyway, yeah, I guess disappointed for some of you guys out there, but she's happier that she lost the weight. She looks great, looks great now. But yeah, I'm expecting Beckett to go into the next round against Zayn. Dakota Kai, I expect to go over on Devi. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. it'll be surprising because having your first female Indian wrestler or Hindu wrestler that has come into the company, you want them to showcase all these great names and girls that they have that have walked into the company and getting these kind of first time opportunities and stuff like that. But I don't see her going over on Kai. Kai is my pick to go into the second round. I fully expect Rhea Ripley to go through Miranda Salinas. I don't think that Miranda's going to go out first round. Yes, she's trained by Booker T, but I just do not feel like she's prepared for that. So I'm going with Rhea in this one. Deeb. Now let's get down to Serena Deeb and let's address these statements, because originally I said that the WWE did not have a what would you call it, a veteran presence, because that was one of the statements that I put out there in the original the podcast previous to this. And let's go ahead and address the statements that followed underneath that. Phil's Fan 08, D-Rocks, Hayes Man, and Scorpion _. Well, all of them at some point have basically said that Serena Deeb is the WWE veteran, which technically is true. But I have to reiterate, and I did say it in the previous podcast, I will say it again now. The reason that I did not say Serena Deeb was the, quote, returning WWE veteran, or at least I didn't view her as that, is because most of her run as a WWE superstar existed as straight edge society. She wasn't viewed in the same light as a Mickie James or a Trish Stratus, a Victoria, a Lita, Alundra Blaze, or Michelle McCool. You could go down the line. Serena Deeb doesn't have the same wrestling resume within the WWE universe that some of those other names have. She just never was presented as such. She was presented as a sidekick to CM Punk and, part of the wrestling faction, which of the Stranger Society, which they did acknowledge. Now, she will be the sentimental favorite going into this tournament after having watched Bracketology. Now, why is she going to be the sentimental favorite? Because they have already begun to play that up. They played up the fact that, yes, she was signed to the WWE. Yes, she was part of the Stranger Society. Yes, I had a big opportunity given to me that I ruined. She said that she pretty much gave that up because of decisions that she made concerning alcohol and things that she did outside of the ring and so on and so forth. So she is going to be the recognized veteran, but she's not the veteran in the same. She's not identified the same way as Mickie James and stuff. The girls that competed and had the big matches and so on and so forth. Even the footage that they showed, all of the wrestling footage that they had with her in it was footage that came from OVW. It came from Florida Championship Wrestling. It came from elsewhere. They didn't have a great deal of stuff with Deeb on that main roster in the same way that you had with a Brian Kendrick or Tajiri. When they did that in the Cruiserweight Classic, they was able to say, hey, look, these guys, and for the most part, those guys had a reasonable run in on the main roster. They were getting a second or third chance at doing it, but they had a reasonable run there. Serena Deeb didn't have that. Now, that's not to say that the sentimental favorite won't exist in the same light as the returning and recognized veteran. I think it's going to play up the same way, even though I do not personally look at her as the recognized veteran of the WWE lore, because most of her really good stuff, the best matches that she's ever had, took place outside of that company. That's just a fact. It took place outside of that company, but she will be the sentimental favorite. She will be the one that, they get the crowd to root behind. She will be the one that Lita is going to sit there in the same way that Daniel Bryan was saying, come on, Bryan, you can do it, when he was rooting for Brian Kendrick, and really had no shame about his bias toward Brian Kendrick. I say that Lita's probably going to be the same way. They're going to announce her the same way. They're going to, they're going to talk this thing up, and you will root for her. Shit, I'll root for her. I want to see her go. Just the way that they played up in the bracketology so far. I'd like to see her put on the best match that she could possibly put on. But that's the reason why I didn't look at it that way. So to answer those, and I think I did answer one of them online. But yeah, I just don't see her in the same light as that. I like Serena Deeb. I think she's a very talented lady. But I just when I was envisioning my personal outlook on the returning veteran, I was thinking more like what you got with Mickie James returning to take on Asuka. So I hope that basically explains it. A quick side note. There was a comment also placed asking, how could we be celebrating this? And essentially that Triple H is jobbing out other promotions champions and, what's wrong with us? Where's the outrage and stuff like that? Okay. I think that's kind of being looked at in the wrong light here. Of course, you're entitled to your views and opinions about it, and I can see how you would feel that way. Okay, well, let's just go. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but the first name's Jason. So I can understand how you would feel that way. I really do. I can get why you would say, how could you celebrate this? Because let's be honest, the WWE does get a lot of flack, rightfully so, for hoarding talent. And they do. They hoard talent. They have gone, in recent years, they've gone out of their way to sign up people that you almost never see again. They kind of get signed on and then they just are in a holding pattern. They rest in limbo. They don't go anywhere. And they got no shame about hiring out other promotions champions when that promotion needs that champion, and that's all of that's pretty well documented. Just in this tournament alone, you got Santana Garrett, who is the reigning and current Wild champion, or at least until they release the next set of tapings, but she is the Wild champion. You got Mercedes Martinez, who is the WSU champion and the Shimmer champion simultaneously. You have Tessa Blanchard, who is co-holder of the Shimmer Tag Team Championships, along with Vanessa Craven. So having signed these girls when they are champions to other promotions, does it hinder the promotion? Yes, it does. It that is the downslide of it. That said, the other side of the coin is this, and we do have to acknowledge the other side of the coin. And I say this having had the opportunity to sit down and talk with some of them on a couple of occasions. Them going into the WWE under any circumstances, for a lot of them means a lot. For a lot of them, because yes, they enjoy having the matches and wrestling on the indies and working all these names. And believe me, there are a lot of names on the independents and a lot of matches on the independents that will be just as good as anything that you see on the Mae Young Classic. In fact, I would even go the extra mile to say that the WWE Universe is behind as it relates to recognizing and knowing these names. People like you and I, and I'm saying this to all of those that's listening, because if you're listening to me on this podcast, wherever you happen to find it, whether that be iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, YouTube. If you've gone out and found this podcast, then you clearly already are a fan of women's wrestling. So you know what I'm talking about. These girls have had these types of matches that you're going to see on the Mae Young Classic. They've had it already. It's the WWE Universe that's getting introduced to this for the first time. They're the ones that need to see it. We've already seen it. We've seen it in various. We've seen it on Shimmer. We've seen it at Shine. We've seen it at Roar. We've seen it at WSU. We've seen it at Girl Fight. We've seen it at Big Time Wrestling. We've seen it. We've seen it every place under the sun because we already know that. Some of you may have seen it on my channel. You may have seen it on the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, but you've seen it. It is not a shock. This is not new. This ain't no surprise. So it's not about necessarily them going there to I get to have these great matches that I never had before. Yes, for some of them, that will be true. But for a lot of them, it's, hey, I've done this for $25 a night or $50 or $75. Here I can go and I can earn a reasonable paycheck. That's one reason. Two, you got people that are going there that may not ever get that chance again. They may not ever see a WWE arena again in their career. It's going to be sad to say that for some of them, but out of the 32 girls there, I'm sure some of them are going to get signed. I'm sure some of them are going to go to NXT. I'm sure some of them are going to go right to the main roster or something like that. But there's going to be at least a significant chunk of them that are never, ever going to go to WWE. And that might be by choice. That might be because, it now ain't their time or whatever the case may be. So this is about as good a window as they're going to get, and they decide they got to take that. Some of them who have been doing this for a long period of time, and there's a few. Mercedes might be the one that's been in it the longest, but you got your Serena Deebs, you got your Abby Layers, you got your Sarah Logans and Mia Yims and so on and so forth. These girls have been doing this for a while, and yes, they've been recognized, but none of them have had the platform that the WWE is going to give them. And if you're going to do anything, you want to do it on the biggest platform that you have available to you. This is, right or wrong, for better or worse, this is the biggest platform that they're ever going to get. There is not a bigger company out there. I like Global Force as much as some of the other people out there, but Global Force isn't the biggest platform, and they haven't played it up the same way. I can promise you, if nothing else, let's just say that let's take Tessa Blanchard for instance. If Tessa Blanchard doesn't sign the contract off of the WWE following this tournament, she's going to leave knowing that on the indies, she's going to make that much more money just for having been in the tournament. So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they are hindering some promotions. They always have, they always will. That's just the tail of the tape as far as the WWE is concerned. This ain't nothing new. Is been happening since the 80s when Vince McMahon went and picked out every piece of top dollar talent that he could possibly find around the territories around the country. Same thing that's going on. This practice exists today. Triple H, hey, I like this person. I like that person. We need to sign them. But let's be clear. It's not as if they didn't go to the WWE also. It's not just a case of Triple H, hey, let me go and find all these players. Because I know personally, a lot of them go right on that WWE website and they fill out the form hoping that the WWE will contact them. That's how the contact usually begins if they don't have any connections to the company themselves. Some of them got connections. Some of them got people that they can call and get their name passed along. Like, say like Miranda from Reality of Wrestling. She's a student of Booker T, so I'm sure that's not hurting her. That probably helps her when she's looking to get into this thing. So I can understand the anger. I can understand the feeling that the WWE is hurting some of these places because that's what big companies do. They hurt some of these smaller places. But you can't knock all of them. You can't knock it entirely just because of that, because some of these girls actively go after the WWE even when they are the champions. I'm almost positive to say that if the name Mercedes wasn't passed along, she probably put her name out there to some level. And whether she's the champion at WSU or not, or Shimmer, which she is, and just like I said, Santana Garrett is the wild champion, they're going to take their chance. They're going to take their chance that, if this is the last time I ever get to work in a WWE ring, let's make it good. So all of that to say is like, let them have their moment. Let them have their moment. That they can go out and they can have the match. Will they get jobbed out? I don't know that. And I saw the hashtag jobbing out other promotional champions, but we don't know that. We don't know if they're jobbing out the other promotional champions. We don't know. And it's a 32-woman tournament. Of course, some of them are going to lose. They have to. Some of them are not going to get to the finals. Santana Garrett isn't going to the finals. I'm almost going to put money on that. She's not going to the finals. I just don't see it. She's good, but I just don't see how that's going to happen. And at the end of the day, if she doesn't go to WWE, she's probably going to return back to the Indies. She's going to continue on with WOW because I think they got a TV deal going. So she's going to be good either way. She's going to be perfectly fine either way it goes. But I just want to take a moment to kind of sidetrack and say, look, we're not celebrating that necessarily, but you got to call a spade, and that we also have to look at it from the participants' point of view, that a lot of them, this is the dream come true. So it's not just the WWE, let's just take these people and hurt these promotions. A lot of them are wanting this. So, let them have their thing. And a lot of times we as fans, we want what we want, and we like them to stay there. But I also know that, well, maybe I shouldn't call out promotions by name, but some of these women's promotions just do, they can't support themselves solely off of that. So they gotta go with what they can. So platform and money, the venue, I think those things are things that you have to consider as to why they participated, not necessarily because he just went around and he decided to yank out talent. But I get what you're saying, but hopefully you'll take that in consideration as you watch it, going forward. So, all right, now I finished that. So last group, and I'm sorry about that sidetrack. I just wanted to address that because it was a comment that was on the page underneath the last podcast. So the final set of brackets, Vanessa Bourne versus Serena Deeb. Deeb. I'm going to say Serena Deeb easy. I think that sentimental story is going to play up. It's at least got to play to the quarterfinals. I think Deeb is going to go 3 matches in before she even gets to the point where she's going to lose. So, yeah, I'm looking for Serena Deeb to go over Bourne. Santana Garrett and Piper Niven, which is a little tough. Some of you may know Piper as Viper. I'm gonna go with Piper. I'm gonna go with her in this match. I think that she's gonna go over Garrett again, who is the current reigning and defending WOW champion. Of course, you will not be walking in with a championship, but now that I think about it, it's kind of an interesting side note that this is the second major promotion that Santana Garrett has been in as the WOW champion. Like, she walked into the Knockout Knockdown Victory Road, I believe, and she was the WOW champion then. And then she walked in, now she's walking into the Mae Young Classic, and she's the Knockouts champion now. So that is an interesting little side note. Matter of fact, let me check that and make sure, because it's been a while since I think she was up against Brandy Rhodes at the Knockouts Knockdown pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken. I'm having a little bit of a mental lapse as far as that's concerned, but I think I'm right. I think that was it. So let's take a quick look here. Yep, there she goes. She's Santana Garrett versus Brandy Rose, and if I remember, they had a pretty good match, probably the best match of Brandy Rose's career at that time. But Santana Garrett was the Wild champion. So there's a little side note for you. She walks in as the champion of another promotion to 2 different other televised promotions within this calendar year. So I guess bravo for her. At one point in time, she was racking up titles. She won the Wild Championship, and then she won she was the NWA Women's Champion, and she won the Shine Champion simultaneously, and then she went on to Wild. So yeah, she was killing it for one point in time. But I don't think that she's gonna win this one. Unfortunately, that my pick is for Piper in the first round. I might, let me see if I pronounce it, Tanyara Conti against Lacey Evans. I am going to go for Lacey in this, although I don't think that she is going to go much further than the second round. Lacey Evans is the former Ruby Mobbs on the independent scene, who didn't really travel all that much. In fact, I think that the most that she did was in the southern portions of Georgia independent wrestling. And I said before, we were scheduled to have an interview, but then she got signed, and then that kind of derailed that because, as you know, when you sign on with the WWE, they kind of control your media outlets, and you have to be approved for you to be talking to their talent. So, but given the story that they gave on her, I would be surprised if she did not win. They played up her military background, which used to be part of her character when she was on the independent circuit. Now they don't do that so much. They talk about it a lot, but it's not part of her ensemble. In fact, she basically comes out there looking like a gentle Southern belle. But she does do she does the salute and all that stuff like that, and she's already talked about all the things that I've already known before she walked in. She walks in as a mother. She walks in as with a military background and a wife, and it's going to mean everything to her to win. And that story is pretty much what got her signed in the first place. If you didn't watch the Breaking Ground series that's on the WWE Network, it's still there. You could probably go find it and find the episode that I'm talking about. But I think that's going to be the real story there, and it's probably going to be one of those heartfelt stories that even if she loses, she's probably going to be in there for the fight of her life. But I expect Evans to go to the second round. Aisha Raymond and Toni Storm. I expect Storm to go over Aisha Raymond. I think that she's going to get. I think Storm is the money in this particular instance. And if I were going to go further in this particular group, I want to say Storm over Evans, because I don't see Toni Storm getting derailed until she goes into the quarterfinals, when she potentially walks up against Deeb. Now, I think Deeb. Let's see if she can get past, because I've already predicted Piper, and I think Deeb goes over on Bourne. So Deeb against Piper, I'm gonna say Serena Deeb there, and I think that's where I believe that's where it's gonna probably stop for Serena. Although it'd be interesting to see if she goes up against Zayn, because I'm fully expecting Zayn to go to the semifinals easy. So if we're gonna look at the path for Zayn, I'm saying Zayn over Blanchard. I already said that. Zayn survives Beckett, which would be the David and Goliath story. Zayn goes to the quarterfinals. I said Ripley over Miranda, Kai over Kavita. I expect Kai to go over Ripley. So then we have Kai and Zayn. Zayn goes over Toni Storm and Zayn, which will probably be a kick-ass match. And again, this is my personal stuff. I have not seen any spoilers. I refuse to watch any spoilers. I want to be surprised. I want to feel the excitement and all that good stuff like that. And I probably should be filling out my brackets as I'm talking about this. And again, for those that are interested, go to www.com/Mae Young Classic. You can download your version of it, or you can watch you can see the brackets in its entirety. But I'm looking for Storm to face off against Zayn, and that will be the semifinals in my universe. And I would like Martinez up against Baszler on the other side of those finals, all of which would be great matches. I think that they'll all have incredible matchups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to fill in my bracket, and I'm going to get a picture of this, and I'm going to put this up on our Facebook page. Cause I could be all wrong. I could be completely wrong. I could have this thing just screwed up from start to finish. So you'll be able to put that in my face like, you got it all wrong. But I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my bracket, and I'm gonna take a picture of this, and I'm gonna put it on the Facebook page. If you have not joined our Facebook page, go to Facebook Women's Pro Wrestling Network, all one word. It'll come up, and click the subscribe or like or whatever the hell button. I get them all kind of mixed up now, but click that and follow. I probably will tweet it out as well, and I need to push Twitter because I haven't really pushed it as much. So there, go on to Women's Pro Wrestling Network. You can find us as WPN Wrestling. That's WPN Wrestling, and you find us on Twitter, and I'll put that out there, so we can kind of follow this thing together, because I think it's going to be really fun to see how much of this we have gotten right. And if you got your predictions, if you got your brackets, if you printed it out, I'm going to say fill it in. Fill out your bracket form from start to finish. And because that's going to be the real key here. Fill it out from start to finish, so that we can't go back on what we said. Once we put it in there, we got to stick to the picks. All right, that's the real key here. We gotta stick to the picks. Let's not do what Corey Graves is doing. I know that's part of his gimmick, where he's like, Gabby Liz is gonna win. No, I mean Mercedes. No, Rachel. That's part of his gimmick. Let's stick to who we say. So let's get that in. Take the picture, post it, and see who's gonna come out here. Who's got it? And you know what? On our Facebook page, I've been giving away some shirts. I bought some shirts for some people off of Pro Wrestling Tees. And, maybe we'll make a contest out of this now that I think about it. Maybe we could, get a shirt for the person who got the most correct guesses or something like that. I don't know. Something like that. But I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how this thing will work. How what we could do. Maybe we could give away something like that. I don't know, DVD. And we'll work that out. I like I said, I'm just thinking about it as I'm filling this thing in, because I'm actually writing it down now as I am doing the podcast, because I've already given you my particular picks. Mine's are out there. I've already told you who I think is going to win, and is out into the universe now, not the WWE universe, but out into the real universe. So I'm going to encourage you to go on, get those brackets, download it, fill it in, and share your picks with the world. Share who you think is going to go through. Share who you think is going to actually win it. And we'll see how much of this we all got right now, what we got wrong. And it'll make the Mae Young Classic that much more intense once you watch it and you got your picks that you're rooting for. That's for damn sure. So there we go, folks. I just wanted to put that out there. Just wanted to get this quick podcast in on the Mae Young Classic. Next up, I will be talking about the Forgotten Knockouts, because it is a shame. They got some really good talent across the board there on the Knockouts, but Unfortunately, the knockouts and knockdown just did not have the same oomph. They got really good matches in there, but it doesn't have the same oomph as the Mae Young Classic is already presenting. And like I said, we hadn't even seen the first match, and they've already got the presentation like really, really good. So that's that. Be sure, if you have not subscribed to our channel, that you do. That is the Women's Pro Wrestling Network on YouTube. If you are there and you're listening to that, click the subscribe button. And if you do click the subscribe button, make sure you click that little bell also so that you get the notifications from all of the uploads and all the videos and matches and podcasts and interviews that we do. Following that, you want to make sure that you have those on. We also have other things for you to subscribe to at this point. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter, both of which WPN Wrestling. You just go WPN Wrestling, and it'll come up. In fact, most of those you just hit WPN and it pulls itself right on up. If you haven't subscribed to us on or followed us on Facebook, go to Women's Pro Wrestling Network, all one word, and it'll pull that up as well. I post some articles and things like that on there. The central location for everything is the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, which is WPNWrestling.com. So I need to get back into putting things on there. Definitely, if you haven't found our website, please do. Also, for those that are on YouTube, I want to say again, you go to our channel, you can click our channel link and go to our About page, and it has all the links for everything that we do there. So whether that be Podbean, and if you're looking for the audio versions of this, because I know some people prefer the audio opposed to sitting down on YouTube and watching the video version of it. But you can go on to Podbean.com, search out WPN, you can go to iTunes, you can go to TuneIn, you can go to Google Play, all of which will provide you our podcast. And if you are listening to this podcast, if you found us on one of those platforms and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. Please go ahead and click, because these are the things that keep us rolling on. This is the way that you can show support for what we do. If you are unable to support us monetarily, which you can go on to Patreon for that. We've been working on that to get some original matches. And so if you choose to support monetarily, that would be the way to do it. If you are unable to do it that way, then just click the subscribe button. Those things are free. And we will continue to produce free content for you to enjoy as often as we can. So that's it, folks. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. And if you have any comments about your picks of who's going to win and who's going to take it all, leave them in the comment section below. Leave it underneath, and be sure to post your pictures if you haven't. Send it over to me. Send a message. Send it over to Facebook. Shoot me a direct message wherever you can. And I love to see them. I love to see who you pick. I love to see who you think is going to go to the at least to the quarterfinals. Let's do that. At least to that far. Who's going to make it to the quarterfinals? Share that with me. All right. Until then, this is another podcast down. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next go round. Peace out, guys.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.